Hey everybody, Silvino Edward Diaz here for EPGD Business Law and Starving Artist. I want to talk today about a topic for all of you folks who are in the world of e-commerce or anybody who is building a website for either users or customers or visitors. I want to discuss three main agreements that you want to keep in mind every time that you either design, publish, or distribute a website into the digital atmosphere. So there's three basic agreements that you want to keep in mind that you want to have on your website. Two of these are absolutely necessary for absolutely anybody who is using or employing a website. The third one is more for people who are actually making sales through the website. So let's begin. Number first, and I believe most importantly, is the privacy policy. You're going to find this document at the very bottom of basically any website that you go into. And it's going to say privacy policy through a link you can click. It's going to show you a few paragraphs about, important here, how the pages use and store and manage and distribute the personal information that you provide them, whether it be your geolocation, whether it be an email, credit card information, information about the user's name, telephone number, any sort of personal information or personally identifiable information that you input or that the website gets from your computer or device needs to be stated and disclosed to you in terms of how the company uses it, because the company or the person who operates the website needs to have special safeguards in place for the protection of that information and for the disclosure of that information should any government entity or any other party request it in any event. Now, there are different rules, especially in the European Union and states like California, that provide and require for more strict measures for the protection of that information. But regardless of any website that you visit, you're going to want to make sure that that website knows what it's doing with your information and that it lets you know. So if you're designing a website, make sure to keep in mind that you're going to need a privacy policy so you can alert your users about how you're using the personal information. And every time you update that privacy policy, you're going to want to send them an email or a notice letting them know what have you done and when those terms are going to become effective. So that's the privacy policy, very briefly. Second agreement that you're going to want to keep in mind is the terms of use, sometimes called the terms and conditions. They both essentially mean the same thing. These are two separate agreements altogether, because if the privacy policy addresses what it's doing with the user's personal information, the terms or conditions are basically the rules of the game for the website. What does the website offer? What, if any, intellectual property is it putting out there that it's allowing you to engage with and use, like for example, logos and marks and other trademarks? How can you navigate the website and use the website for the purposes that are legitimate and are the objective of the website operator? So terms and conditions are basically the rules of the game for what you can and cannot do and what you can extract and use from the website, which again is different from what the website gets from you in terms of personally identifiable information. So the terms and conditions are going to be very important because they're going to outline what the rules of the game are and how the users can engage in a website that is lawful and that is authorized by that contract. Remember, these are agreements, so you need to abide by them, and sometimes, most of the times, these agreements are going to say that by you merely using the website, you are agreeing to those terms. So you don't have to sign and you don't have to click on anything for you to become accountable under these agreements. So make sure that you, in any website that you operate and that you're going to put out there, whether you're in e-commerce, whether you have an artist portfolio, make sure that you have both your privacy policy and your terms and conditions in place so that you can provide your users with sufficient notification about what information is being get from them and how they can actually use your website in a legitimate manner. Now, for my folks who are selling items or are running e-commerce businesses through websites, you want to make sure that you have a user agreement. You want to make sure that you have an agreement that states once the person makes a purchase, what's the cancellation or refund policy? What are the terms for the use of that product or service? Because if you don't have that and you rely that the terms and conditions are going to govern the terms of the sale, These are two completely different arrangements that are happening at the same time. It's an entirely different thing for someone to use a website versus someone to purchase something off of it. So if you're running an e-commerce platform, you have to make sure that you have a user agreement that's separate and apart from your terms and conditions. And the way that you do this that is most seamless and it's going to potentially safeguard you from any liability is you want to make sure that before they check out and put their input on the checkout cart, that you provide them with a little box or window that says, I accept these user agreement terms, so that they'll have a chance to read them, review them, and click I accept before making the purchase. So you want to make sure that aside from drafting the contract, that you have your web developer design a sort of function for your website that you can provide the users due notice. And even so, once the sale is made, send them a copy of that user agreement so they can keep them for their records. And if any modifications are made in the future, just as your privacy policy, just as your terms and conditions, you're going to want to alert them when it comes into effect and send it to them by email, by physical mail. The choice is yours. So remember, these are three very basic website agreements that you're going to want to keep in mind when designing a service or portal online. This has been Silvino Edward Diaz for EPGD Business Law and Starving Artists. Make sure to subscribe to our social media, Starve Artists, at all platforms, and EPGD Business Law on all platforms. I'll be waiting. Thank you so much, and until next time.